create a crucial reality of successfully transformative struggle under the most dire of circumstances. I first started observing and writing about AIDS in the early 1980s when I was a 24-year-old City Hall reporter for the New York Native, a gay male newspaper. I would go to press conferences given by Mayor Ed Koch to raise concerns about the inability of the New York City Council to pass a basic gay rights bill protecting New Yorkers from discrimination in housing, jobs, and public accommodations, like restaurants. When AIDS became apparent to me around 1982, I began to ask questions about the looming crisis. In this way, by chance, I was able to cover early stories like gay businesses being denied advertising space because of AIDS hysteria, and the first case of AIDS diagnosed in the Soviet Union. Soon, however, I was writing regularly about the early stages of state oppression of PWAs, the closing of gay spaces, the refusal of the government and pharmaceutical companies to respond effectively or at all, and the nascent movement of resistance, including early civil disobedience and organizing. Because I had been a reproductive rights activist and journalist, I contextualized this developing story in the larger framework of the rise of the religious right as an electoral force and the role of their president, Ronald Reagan, in obstructing progress on AIDS. In New York City, PWAs and their supporters were also thwarted locally by the negligence of Mayor Koch, and so we had both municipal and national battles to wage. I also, from the beginning, focused my coverage on women, poor people, and children, and the impact of AIDS on their lives. These journalistic pieces can be found in my book, My American History: Lesbian and Gay Life During the Reagan-Bush Years. ACT UP was founded in March 1987 after a lecture at the Lesbian and Gay Center by writer Larry Kramer. I had been writing about AIDS for about 4 years before joining the newly formed ACT UP in July 1987. Although never in leadership, I was a rank-and-file member of ACT UP until 1992, shortly after the organization split. I went on, with 5 other women, to co-found the Lesbian Avengers, also a direct action group. While in ACT UP, I participated in countless actions, including seize control of the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, stop the church, and storm the NIH, National Institutes of Health. I was arrested twice: at the Day of Desperation action at Grand Central Terminal, Fight AIDS, Not Arabs, and at Trump Tower for the Trumpsgiving action. I hovered on the outskirts of the Women's Caucus, attended the first meeting of the Housing Works Committee, and participated in the Shea Stadium action. No glove, no love. I organized one of ACT UP's earliest fundraisers, held at Performance Space 122 across the street from my apartment. But like most of the rank and file, and unlike most of the people highlighted here, I was never an active member of a committee, nor did I belong to an affinity group. I did bring AIDS into my other community work, including co-programming the Mix NYC Queer Experimental Film Festival, which I ran with co-founder Jim Hubbard from 1986 to 1993. I continued to write journalistic pieces about AIDS for the next 35 years, primarily in relation to gentrification and most recently HIV criminalization. This is my 5th nonfiction book with significant AIDS content, and I've also published 4 novels about some aspect of the lived experience of AIDS. My entire adult life has been surrounded by AIDS, the deaths of those around me and with whom I made my stand, advocating for and learning from people with HIV, and witnessing and sharing the survival of my closest friends. I have met, stood with, and advocated for people with HIV all over the world as an HIV-negative person, and consider myself to be part of the HIV/AIDS community. The ACT UP Oral History Project.